This week we're moving on with the construction of our building project. Today I decided I would show you how to make some wood look like it's covered in concrete. Stay tuned and see how easy and fun this project is. Alright, so today we're going to actually work on the floor and this area where when this building had been a garage, cars would have pulled up and into the building. Also a walkway over here. I'm not going to do this walkway to here yet because I haven't decided if I'm going to do it the same. Kind of just did some sketching here yesterday to kind of figure out about where I want to put down our ground. I want this to look like concrete. This was actually, somebody asked on the Facebook page, they were making a lighthouse and trying to make the foundation under the lighthouse and wanted to know how do you paint wood so it looks like concrete or cement. So I gave them some ideas and that got me thinking this would be perfect for the floor in this area out here on this building. Now normally I would do the walls and then the floor. And that's probably what we'll do in the other small room here. But I also like to work from messiest to least messy. And I know if I spill glue or whatever I use on the walls onto this floor finish, it won't hurt anything. But if I get this up onto my walls after they're finished, it's going to make a mess. So we're going messy to less messy. So let me set the camera up. We're going to start with the inside floor and then we'll work on the outside after we get the inside part done. So let me move the camera around so you're kind of looking in the ceiling and we'll get to work. First let me orient you. This is the floor down here, walls. You're kind of looking in the open ceiling. So what I did was first I mixed up some paint. I didn't have a gray I liked. But I had black and white, and I actually mixed black, white, and a little bit of the dark blue that I used for the trim, because I wanted kind of a cool gray. So I'm going to put part of this in this container. I'm not going to use this all in here. And I did not bring the lid, so I'll have to go get the lid later. Now, to this, I want to add just some white glue. This is some just store brand school glue. What we're doing is we're trying to we're giving the paint a different texture than it would normally have. I'm going to mix this all in. And I'm going to reach my wet wipes because I can tell I'm going to make a mess. Now, this is just cornstarch from my kitchen. I'm going to start adding this in. What I want to make this paint have more texture, and it's kind of trial and error. Now I might actually want a little bit of water in here. Yeah, I think this will be okay. So now you see we've got something thick. Kind of mix this together, try and get it even. Yeah, I could have probably bought a gray paint that would have been the right color, but I didn't want to go to town today. So now I'm going to start by just doing this. And I've got a brush. And I'm really hoping that I mixed up enough to cover the entire floor. And I'm just going to use this brush to spread this out. I mean, it's messy, and I'm going to spend some time working this out. I want to cover as much of the floor with this paint as I can. I'm hoping to get the whole thing with this amount, because it's going to be really difficult to match what I just did. Oh, I think it'll be fine. This is actually spreading out. By adding the glue, not only do you change the texture, but you make the paint go a little further. Now the whole idea here is when this is done, it's going to look like a garage floor, and we'll probably add some stains to it. I'm not worried about getting it back here behind the garage, because I'll probably add dirt back there like I did on the back of the toy store. But I didn't even clean up the area very well, because it's fine if it has some dust and stuff under this. It'll just give more texture. Now the outside, I want to do a slightly different texture, and I'm also going to make my paint slightly lighter so it doesn't look like we used the same exact paint. Yeah, this was perfect amount. So now by adding all this, it's made the paint much thicker, and it's going to look, hopefully it's going to look more like a cement floor. When it dries, we'll see. Now this paintbrush, because of all the stuff in it, really needs to be cleaned out right away. Use lots of soap and water and get your paintbrush clean. I am going to go clean up, and then we'll start on the outside parts. Alright, so we've moved to the front of the building. Now I'm going to work in a bigger container this time. I'm going to move my paint that I've mixed into, this is just I'm using mostly just disposable containers here. It's just easier. We had to have less cleanup. And I'm going to add some more white paint, because I want the outside to be lighter than the inside. So a lighter gray. And once again, I'm going to add a good glob of glue. We're going to start out pretty much the same way as we did before. We're going to add the glue. We're just going to add one additional ingredient. I'm going to add, not probably proportionately as much cornstarch, just enough to thicken it a bit. Now I have some sand, and this is just white sand. I'm not sure if I'm getting in the camera. It's just white sand from the garden department at the local store. It's like you put underneath, you know, like in a potted cactus or something. And I'm just going to put a good scoop of that in there. I want a different texture. I want more texture out here on the outside, and different texture. You know, outside you'd have more texture in your cement so you wouldn't slip in the bad weather. A little more in even. There. I want this really thick. And don't use your good paintbrushes to put this on. These are just cheap brushes that I'm using. I'm going to plop some of this down. You see, it's got a really thick texture, and it's really granular. Now I'm going to spread this out. Work it up to the building. I thought about actually making like a ramp into the building, but I didn't. I wasn't sure how that would make my doors work. But I'm just going to brush this out in the spots that I want it to look like the concrete was poured. This actually, to me, this even looks like, funny thing, it looks like wet concrete. Like when you pour a wet concrete patio or something, this looks just like concrete, wet concrete. So I'm just going to brush it kind of smooth, but not really. I want to have texture. I'm not going to bore you with spreading all of this out on camera. I'll go ahead. It says that I have to move the camera in order to get over there, so I'll get some of this out, and then We'll come back when both floors are nice and dry. Alright, so now it's time to make this floor not look so new, and I love how it looks so far, so this ought to be interesting. So what I've done, I've got a container of water. I know it's a really odd angle, and on this is just the lid to an oatmeal tub of rolled oats. I have some eucalyptus craft paint, some burnt sienna, some espresso, and some black. I also have, and I put gloves on because I know this is going to get messy. I'm going to dip this. This is just a piece of kitchen sponge that I'm going to in here. And I'm just going to randomly, and I've got paper towels over here too. And to start with, I want to kind of mop that off. And you can't see that. So let's get over here where you can see, hopefully. See if I can turn the camera ever so slightly. This is a really strange angle to be working at. Yeah, this is the door. Right here is the big door. And I figured it'd be dirtier right in front of the door and at the edges and like in the corners. Let's get a little green. Let's get some water on this. Use the same mixture of paints on the outside, but I'm going to water them down more. And I'm just putting on, and you're going to do this as much or as little as you want. Now that I've got quite a bit on, I'm going to move this. I'm going to rub it. Oh yeah. Let's see, we want to make sure we have the whole doorway. Trying to think about how a garage floor looks. They're never clean, and since this used to be a garage, it's not anymore. When we get to the end, closer to the end of the video series, you'll see what this is going to become. And if you want to put more in an area, like there's another door over here, I'm going to put more in front of the door, quite a bit in the corners. I've also cut a sponge in kind of a wedge shape so I can get into tight spots. And I'm just going to continue along rather than moving the camera multiple times. I think I'll take some photos as I go, and then I'll put those on the blog. When I get this area done, I'll come back and we'll do the outside. Alright, hopefully I didn't make everybody sick trying to get the camera in place. So now I have the same paint colors on here. This is how my concrete turned out so far. I've got a large brush. More of this, I have the same colors, and I've got lots and lots of water on here. In fact, I want more water in there. Now what I want to do is just, because I don't want this to look clean and new, I want it to look old, and I like the multicolors in there. And I can always go back and put some more gray over this if I decide I've gone too far. But I'm just going to paint this mixture on. And when this is dry, I'll come back and we'll get another look at it and see where we're going from here. Alright, so I want to seal this now that I've got the color pretty much the way I want it. It just looks old and grungy. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to seal the outside surface with matte Mod Podge, and then I'm going to use a satin Mod Podge on the inside because I want the inside floor. I remember when I was growing up we had a garage with a concrete floor, and it almost had a satiny type finish to it. So that's kind of what I want to do here. I'm using the end of my jar of Mod Podge. Just going to pour some on. I'm going to brush it out. I'm going to brush out the mat out here. Hopefully I've got enough, otherwise I'll have to go find my other container. And then I'm going to do the same thing in there. So it's just a matter of just pouring this on and spreading it around. So not very exciting. When it's all done, I'll take some photos, which will be on the blog post. I hope that you found this process interesting and helpful. And come back next week and see what we are working on then.